Based on their attacks of Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre's promise to get rid of the federal carbon tax, the Justin Trudeau Liberals have proven that either they don't actually know how their own carbon tax works or they're lying. I think it's a little bit of both. The Liberals, in some instances, will say that their carbon tax is a price on pollution meant to incentivize people to drive less and then thus reduce carbon emissions, helping the climate in some vague way. And then in other instances, they will argue that the rebates that people get back are actually greater than the cost of the carbon tax, and thus the carbon tax is actually a wealth redistribution program meant to help those not as well off as others. So, which is it? I've seen these tweets being put out by both the Liberal Party's official account as well as the Minister of Environment, Stephen Guilbeault. Stephen Guilbeault posted this: putting a price on pollution helps reduce pollution and strengthen our economy. Poilievre would take away the rebate payments, helping millions of Canadians while removing one of the best tools to tackle the climate crisis. It can't be both. You can't try and disincentivize someone from driving their vehicle with a tax just to give them back even more money than that tax is costing them. And even then, in reality, let's just debunk this stupid myth. Yes, some people will get more back in rebates than they pay at the gasoline pump, but that's only one aspect of the carbon tax effect on the economy. All products are affected by the carbon tax, but the Liberals only focus on gasoline costs and sort of heating costs on consumers. They don't focus on food and other products and services that have to be shipped, anything else that requires, energy to create. That's something that the Liberals never take into account on the calculus they do. And again, so how are people drive, like, how is it like helping reduce emissions or like tackle the climate crisis if you're giving people the money back, so the actual negative effect of driving is not nearly as present? Anyways, but then we also had the Liberal Party of Canada on its own Twitter account put out this: climate change is real, and Canadians know we need real action to deliver clean air and a strong economy. Okay, one, Canada has clean air. Can we stop with the idea that somehow we're putting into place regulations that were maybe needed in the early 70s in the United States where there were smog issues? We do not have smog issues in our country anymore. The issue that the Liberals are trying to tackle with the carbon tax is very vague and nebulous issues of carbon emissions that have some effect on the climate but are pretty minor overall. And Canada is not really that big of a contributor to climate change if we're to assume it's a purely carbon issue, just based on the amount of green space our country has. But sorry, getting back to the tweet, the Liberal Party account goes on to say, while we're moving forward, Pierre Poilievre still has no plan for the environment and our economy. And then under the Pierre Poilievre section of this graphic, it says, make pollution free again. Okay, just on that one aspect, I'm actually happy that we are making it free to pollute, because guess what? Living life causes pollution, and we shouldn't be taxing each citizen for the fact that they have to live life. Yes, if you're dumping sewage in a river like Quebec, like Vancouver Island, maybe that should be taxed a little bit. If you're dumping smog into the air and it's like visibly black and it's actually affecting other people, you should maybe have to pay for that. The thing is that the carbon tax itself is not actually tackling anything that has anything to do with real pollution. And if we're considering that pollution that needs to be taxed, you could tax anything. It's crazy all the stuff you could tax. You could have an extra garbage tax, and not just the garbage removal tax, just the fact that you're creating garbage. We could have waste taxes. We could have tons of different little taxes just from the fact that you have to live a 24-hour day and you're going to create some amount of pollution in the world. But another thing also, I always hate when people bring up the idea, Milton Friedman was in favor of a carbon tax. Yes, in the 70s, when there were smog issues in cities because cars didn't do a great job of filtering out the gasoline that they were burning and like emitting the exhaust of. That's a stupid argument to pretend that Milton Friedman would be in favor of a liberal style carbon tax. But moving on here, the next one says, scrap Canada's climate plan. How have we actually done on the climate plan anyways? Have we reduced emissions? No. Have we made the environment cleaner in any actual measurable way? Not really. So what's the point? Canadians are actually for that, because guess what that climate plan represents? Billions of dollars of wasted taxpayer money. And Canadians are not scared of cuts these days. They realize that the Canadian government spends too much and taxes too much, and they would like that all reduced. The last one, it says, lose middle-class jobs. middle class jobs. What private sector organic middle class jobs are being like gotten rid of because we get rid of the carbon tax? None. Are you talking about government created just subsidy jobs? Maybe. Who cares? I don't want those to remain. That's insane that we are just relying on the government to create fake jobs for people and pretending like that's economic growth. Government sector jobs are not real jobs because there's no real productivity tied to those jobs. Some government roles and some government jobs are absolutely necessary. Obviously, the police is a great example. But a lot of the jobs the liberals are creating are just strains on the economy. It is taking money from other people to employ someone to do something that nobody asked for. But then on the liberal side of the graphic, it says liberals plan for clean air and strong economy. Fight climate change with a price on pollution that puts more money in Canadians' pockets. Again, the illogic of that statement that we are going to give you more money, trying to disincentivize you from doing a specific behavior. And let me say, gasoline is an inelastic good. People in most parts of the country cannot live without fueling up their car. Do you think people, if you raise the carbon tax enough, are just going to stop fueling their car and walk to work? I'm in Calgary. That's impossible. I'm going to keep buying gasoline unless you make it so prohibitively expensive that is actively just too expensive for me to even purchase, like it's $100 a liter. I'm still going to buy it because I need to get around. The second point, but to finish up on that, you cannot. One, you can't disincentivize people from using a product they need. You can't disincentivize people from buying food and clothing unless it's like luxury goods. And two, when you're giving more people more money back supposedly with the carbon tax through their rebates, what's the disincentive there? Even if it wasn't an inelastic good, if you were being brought back up to par after your rebates given to you, you wouldn't be disincentivized from driving whatsoever. So the next point says, create middle-class jobs by making Canada a global leader in clean economy. No, that is called the leader in subsidies. The EV factories that we have, the battery factories we have in Canada are ridiculous. It is literally just stealing money from Canadians to pay for a job that we know that nobody asked for someone to do. That is the definition of theft, in terms of you are taking money from taxpayers to pretend like you are doing something that is benefiting Canadians. You are basically buying votes by employing a bunch of people or incentivizing an entire district to vote for you because you create jobs in the area when they're fake jobs. That's not compassionate. That's actually fairly deceptive and nasty to do to the rest of the country. It's great if you live in that area, but we're not supposed to be a country where all we do is think about our own local benefits to the detriment of everyone else. And then it says, clean our environment by planting 2 billion trees and protecting our oceans. Remember when his goal was more than 2 billion? Have we planted any trees? I keep hearing reports coming out where we haven't planted a single one. And I really doubt that he's just been planting hundreds of thousands of trees behind our back and we just didn't know about it up to this point. He would have been ballyhooing that achievement if it was real. But the tree promises as substantive as the other carbon tax promises. They haven't done anything, but we'll just claim that we did it because we claimed we did good thing. And the Conservatives are not going to do that good thing, so we can attack them for it. Just because something is put in positive language does not mean it's good. But that is what a lot of the climate alarmist environmentalist crowd in Canada is obsessed with. Good sounding language with no care about what the real results are. Ugh. Anyways, good thing I got that rant off my chest. Anyways, that's it for me today. I have my usual Give, Send, Go, just link in the description below. It's for my legal case. There's some crazy billionaire suing me for no reason, suing myself in the National Telegraph for defamation, a defamation he cannot prove. And there was multiple other outlets who said the same thing about him, which is factually verifiable, well before we had printed anything. And then also I'm running for the riding of Calgary Signal Hill, the Conservative Party nomination. So if you live in Calgary Signal Hill, vote for me in that area by buying a Conservative Party membership and voting for me number 1 on the ballot whenever the nomination date gets set, and that you would show up in person and, fill out a ranked ballot. There's a lot of red Tories running in these safe seats trying to snag a Conservative nomination. There's a lot of Liberals who know that they can't win as Liberals in these safe seats, so they just end up going into the Conservative nominations when they were like massive backers of Aaron O'Toole. They thought that Pierre Poilievre's policies were radical just a few years ago, and they're pretending to be really on the more reform-minded movement these days, when they're like the biggest naysayers of real conservatism throughout their entire history in politics. Anyway, sorry. Now I was starting to lean into another rant there. It's addictive for me. So that should be it for me today, and I hope everyone has a great night. And I'll definitely see you back here tomorrow.